welcome in to Let's Talk. Today we are previewing the Arizona State at Utah game. This is a huge game. Both teams are 4-1. ASU is coming off two really nice wins against TCU and Baylor. Utah coming off a loss to Tech and then a dominant win over West Virginia. Both going to be coming off byes into this game, which I think makes it really interesting. Should be a great game. Late game on ESPN Saturday night. Should be great environment. Red out for Utah. What are your initial thoughts on this game, Landon?
Yeah, this is going to be an absolutely huge game for deciding the Big 12 race, I think. Both of these teams are still very much alive, very much in it. And I think this game is for, kind of outright control of being the second best team in the conference, potentially. I think everyone can agree at this point that Texas Tech is at number one, but this is kind of a battle to decide that number two position. That's what I feel. I think going into this game, a huge factor is going to be, can Utah run the ball on this Arizona State D-line? And can they protect Dampier versus Arizona State D-line? The Arizona State defensive line has been very good so far, led by Clayton Smith with 4 sacks. They've played well, one of the top defensive lines in the country so far in terms of sack production. Utah's offensive line, though, has also played very well. I think they've given up only 3 sacks this year. And there were some stats, I think around 75% of the time or so, Dampier's had a completely clean pocket, which is one of the best in the country. That's a matchup that I'm for sure going to be watching.
Yeah, I definitely think that D-line is a good place to highlight because as we saw versus Tech, Utah's offensive line could not get pushed, and they honestly couldn't pass protect that effectively either. It was kind of a bad game for them. And I think Arizona State last year, D-line was an issue for them. They didn't really get very much pass rush. I feel like they've mostly fixed that this year. The games I've seen from Arizona State, I've watched all their games, but the games, it's been a big difference between this year and last year. I think their defense as a unit looks much better to me. Holding Baylor and TCU to both below 30, I think is actually a really good feat. I think that's tough to do. And so I'm really impressed with their defense, and I think it's going to be a tough challenge for Utah here.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Let's move into kind of the Utah's offense versus their defense. Let's go a little bit deeper into that. It's like you said, I think Utah needs to run effectively. And honestly, I feel like that starts with getting Parker the ball and not Rogers. I think Parker has way outperformed Rogers. Even with less carries, he has more yards. And Parker has more touchdowns because of the short yardage stuff. But I honestly think I would put Parker in there too. I think he just has better vision than Rogers. And I think that he would be more effective as a power back even than Rogers. So I'm really looking for Parker to get it going this week for ASU.
Oh, I 100% agree. Wayshawn has been our best and most consistent running back, both in the rush and in the pass game, truthfully. Wayshawn for the season, 42 carries for 280 yards, 6.7 average with 3 touchdowns. He's played extremely well. Another person that I'd be interested for Utah to get involved in the run game more is Daniel Bray. Freshman running back. He only got 2 touches against West Virginia, but he looked absolutely electric. Very quick, very speedy back that they got the ball to the outside. I would really look for him to get some more touches.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he looked so dynamic when he was turning the corner and just breaking people's ankles. That was honestly crazy. As far as Dampier himself, I do wonder, the ankle injury I think was obviously limiting him. I think it's a little overstated probably, but I think that, bye week, he should be healthy. He even looked better against West Virginia. It's still not super effective running, but I think they're going to need the Dampier run game here. I think we need a pretty heavy dose of Dampier, especially on scrambles. That's one thing that I feel like he has not been even close to as effective at is Utah as he was at New Mexico. And I think that's probably partially because he's sticking in the pocket. He's looking for more guys downfield. But I think he honestly, when there's a good lane to run, take off and run because those chunk yards actually make the defense think so much,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword because against West Virginia, he had his best passing performance so far at Utah, I would say. He was staying in the pocket a lot longer. He was getting to those second or third reads, finding guys downfield, but his running stats struggled a little bit. He's not getting as many carries. He's not tucking and running. Just kind of comparing from this year to last year rushing, This year, he's got 55 carries for 258 yards, 4.7 average with 2 touchdowns. Last year, he ended with 155 carries, 1,166 yards, 7.5 yards per carry average with 19 touchdowns. So he's definitely not on pace to hit that level of production. He might be at only, a third potentially of what he did last year in terms of total yards and touchdowns. But I think if Dampier is able to get those numbers up a bit while maintaining the ability to throw deep from the pocket, that's definitely the next step, like in his progression as a quarterback.
Oh, I think so as well. Like we got him to be like a really elite running quarterback, and I just don't think that he has, done that yet. So I think that there's definitely like ways that we can improve that, if that makes sense, because like we do need that, I think, for the offense to be effective. He has taken a step up as a passer, I believe. I mean, he already has, pretty comparative touchdowns to like what he did last year, and way less interceptions, obviously. But like part of the package, and I think we saw this especially against Texas Tech, is the running has to be there.
Yeah, talking about the pass game a little bit more for Utah. Ryan Davis, number 1 receiver on this Utah team right now. 36 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 348 yards. I'm wondering who's going to be able to step up behind Ryan Davis. JJ Buchanan has been breaking out. He looks pretty good, but I'm wondering if we can get some more production from Larry Simmons potentially. Might be the first person that I think of. I think that giving him a few more touches per game could be really positive for Utah's pass game.
Oh, I totally agree. I think we've kind of seen the Merriweather experiment like hasn't worked. Like, there's been someone damp, someone him, but like he's just not producing at the level. Like he's catching like only a third of his targets, which is frankly just a terrible, terrible, amount of them. And so like, we tried it. It didn't work. I think it's time to move on to other guys. Like you said, try Larry Simmons, even maybe try like Mana Carvalho.
Yeah.
Get him in for some touches. I think that, as we've tinkered, we've seen Ryan Davis obviously emerge as the wide receiver 1, like you said. JJ Buchanan has become really good. Like honestly, his ability to separate at that size has really stood out to me. Bentley's been reliable at tight end. And besides those 3, I don't think anyone has really emerged yet as a pass catcher. So I would love to kind of try the guys behind Merriweather, see if any of them can outperform him.
Yeah, I'm completely agreed.
Yeah, and then like you mentioned, last thing to hit on the offense, the offensive line, I think, really needs to have a statement game to beat Arizona State here. If we're not able to run effectively, I just don't see us being able to score on Arizona State's really solid defense. And so I think that things could go badly pretty quickly. Like this unit was billed as elite, and like I don't think we've seen that yet. Like the one game that we played against like a good team, like they kind of got punked. Like I need to see that offensive line show it against a good team, because like you can say they're elite all you want, but until they show that they are, like I don't know, like it's hard to believe.
Yeah, well, they've been elite against everyone except Texas Tech, and I do think a lot of that was Texas Tech, both the players and scheme they had. They were playing very well. I think this is the week that Utah's offensive line is going to kind of make a statement. I think the offensive line will have a good day. I think Utah's going to get over 200 rushing yards this game, 1 or 0 sacks. I think this is the week where Utah's O-line is really going to be locked in.
Yeah, I would love that. Let's transition a little bit to talking about Arizona State's offense versus Utah's defense. Obviously, last year, in Arizona State's win over Utah, Cam Skattebo kind of ran wild over Utah. He ran wild over everybody. That man's a beast. Awesome. I love him. One of my favorite non-Utah players in a while, Skattebo. Obviously, they don't have him this year. And I think that more of the offense has really been moved to Jordan Tyson. I think I saw a stat that out of the 8 passing touchdowns Leavitt has, 7 of them have gone to Jordan Tyson. And so, he's obviously the focal point of their offense. He's who Leavitt is looking for every time. And honestly, I'm not sure Utah has a great matchup for him. Like, I think Smith Snowden is too small. Like, we even saw that in the West Virginia game, where there was a couple times, like, the West Virginia guy got a pretty light offensive PI, if I'm being real with you.
Yeah.
But he kind of just, like, big broed Snowden. Like, he just, like, totally, like, took him out with his size and just, like, got the touchdown on him easy. That was called back. But I do worry about that matchup there.
Yeah, I think the answer for that, it has to be Blake Cotton. which I don't feel great about, as he was a receiver that even against West Virginia, he was blowing a couple assignments. You know, like body type wise, he's the best matchup for Jordan Tyson, but I don't know if he can stick with him. Like, I think Tyson's going to be able to separate, and that's something that definitely worries me. Utah definitely, I think, should consider playing more zone schemes in this game, or just make sure that you've got help over the top with like a Teo or a Smith Snowden also helping, because I do think Tyson's going to be able to get separation. But I think Blake Cotton has to be the matchup. He's the only one big enough.
Yeah. The other area that I think Arizona State can really hurt Utah is the QB scrambles. Would it shock you if I told you that Leavitt had twice as many QB scrambles this year as Dampier?
No,
That's
not
true.
at all, because I've watched the games and he's dominating.
Yeah, and so I really worry about that, because I think, honestly, I think Leavitt has been a better runner than Dampier this year. I think he's been really, really effective with his legs. That's something I'm worried about. You know, when QBs escape the pocket, we play a ton of man. And so when you're playing man, your back is turned to the quarterback. You know, you're not able to have the eyes because you're running with the receiver, obviously. And so a lot of scrambles happen. And that's just a symptom of the scheme that we play pretty consistently. So like you, I honestly think this is a great matchup for zone, because then we can keep our eyes on Leavitt, keep him in front of us, and hopefully limit those scrambles a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona State's offensive line was one of their weaker units last year. I think they're similar this year. They're not like bad, but they're just like, they're around average. Utah needs to be very disciplined, especially rushing the passer, to not get too deep and not open up those rushing lanes, because that's also a big factor in shutting down the QB run, is keeping that pocket tight, collapsing the pocket, not letting the QB escape.
Yeah, I totally think so. I think that, yeah, it's a very tough one, because I think that Utah's defensive line has been okay so far. I wouldn't say it's been like elite, but I would say it's been good. I'd say it's been like an average Utah D-line performance, honestly. I mean, led by John Henry Daly. I would like to see Fano, you know, maybe step up a little bit. It does seem like since he got a little banged up in that UCLA game, he's kind of been not as effective as he was previously. But I mean, I think our linebackers have been really great this year. Like, Barton does look like he has gotten back healthy. I mean, John O'Hall has just progressed, like he's flying around the field. And yeah, so I feel good about the front seven matchup versus Arizona State. I don't think they'll be able to dominate us on the ground like they did last year.
Yeah, I do think Arizona State has shown the ability to run effectively, but in honestly their best running game, they actually lost to Mississippi State, which is something interesting to think about, where Mississippi State pretty much said, hey, Sam Leavitt, he's not going to have a good game. Jordan Tyson's not going to have a good game. You know, we're just going to drop tons of guys in coverage. If you run for 300, you run for 300. And they did, but they still lost. They have a bit of a three-headed monster here with running back. They have Raleek Brown, Kanye Udo, and then Kyson Brown. I think all three are quality players. Raleek Brown leading the team with rushing yards at 506. He's definitely their number one running back here. 77 carries versus 39 for Kanye Udo and 18 for Kyson Brown. So Raleek Brown's the guy to watch out for.
Pass catching, I think, for Raleek Brown as well.
Yeah. Raleek Brown, let me look at his stats right now. Yeah, 19 receptions for 107 yards, 5.6 average. Pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
But Raleek is someone to watch out for sure. His speed concerns me a little bit. We're going to have good safety play as well, because Utah likes to bring a safety down into the run game a lot. So with the Nate Ritchie injury, Nate Tillman is going to be in the game, you know, a freshman guy. He's going to need to be very fundamentally sound and quick reading these plays to be able to stop some of these rushes.
For sure. And I do think that, as you've seen in the past, I think we are more susceptible to those like speed backs than we are to like the power backs, you know? I think the power backs, honestly, we don't really struggle with those guys typically. You know, it's the speed guys that get us most of the time. I'm
just going to be real, dude. Pretty much every college football game I watch, it's the speed guys that get you. Like, very rarely do the power backs get you. I feel like in general, just speed backs are more effective.
Yeah. So a good reason why we need to play Bray a little bit more, in my opinion.
That's exactly what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move into let's actually touch briefly on special teams, because Arizona State has had some special teams issues, not as huge as, I mean, Utah has too, not as huge as last year for them, where they were literally holding tryouts for like who was going to be their kicker. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
But like, they did have some issues. They've missed some field goals this year. Same with Utah. Do you think that plays a part, you know, missed field goals? Like, do you think teams will be more aggressive on fourth down potentially in this game?
I do think so, actually. I do think both teams will be more aggressive on fourth down. since Dylan Curtis had that poor performance in Wyoming, he's been pretty. I don't think he's missed since then. He's played pretty well.
I think he's only had
he's only had
three.
A few
I
attempts.
think it's had like 3. Yeah.
He's played well since then. So I do think Utah, I don't think they'll overcorrect where if it's like 4th and 5 and we're on their 25-yard line, like, oh, we're going for this. I do think we'll kick the field goal at those points, but I definitely think, maybe once we're in that like 50-yard range, it's like 4th and 3, 4th and 4, we might be like, you know what, let's go for this. And I think Arizona State will be in a similar boat.
Coaching wise, I think this is an interesting matchup because it's kind of like old school versus new school, like Dilly, very aggressive offensively, kind of known for the very creative offenses. I still remember his first year in 2023 that they were missing so many players. They literally implemented the swinging gate offense in 1 week. And I mean, we had Ludwig at the time, and I was just thinking that, and I was like, dude, we can't even put in 3 plays in a week.
Dude,
like,
we can't get a slant put in the playbook the entire year with Ludwig in the past.
Yeah, they fired Ludwig, and they're like, oh, we're constrained by his playbook. It's like, really? Like, you can't put in 5 plays a week? Like, it's just crazy to me anyways. But like, I honestly think that he is someone that, like, no matter what, he's going to do what it takes to win. And, like, he views that matchup, and he's going to, like, even if it's not something that, like, they've practiced before, like, he's going to try to get that ready for Utah. So, like, I expect him on 2 weeks of prep to honestly have, like, a really solid game plan. So I think it's going to be huge, especially on Scally, to be able to kind of almost predict what he's going to adjust to and bring in a scheme that is going to make it so that Utah can still be effective on defense.
Yeah, and Scally typically has been very effective at doing that throughout his career. Very rarely do I feel like Scally gets outplayed.
Yeah. Okay, let's move into X factors. My X factor for this game, I think it's going to be Utah's secondary. Like, I think that the way that ASU scores is by big explosive plays through the secondary and also the QB scramble, which is what the secondary has to tackle the quarterback a lot. I think those are the 2 main ways that Arizona State attacks Utah. And if we're letting big plays over the top, like if we're playing single high man coverage like we do all the time, and we're just letting Jordan Tyson like free run throughout the secondary, like I think it could be a long night. But, like if we find some way to bottle that up, like I don't see like how they're going to score more than like 24 on us if we can bottle that up. But it's a huge if, bottling up players that good.
Yeah, my X factor, the padlock stat. I think it's going to be average distance to convert third down for both teams. Because I think for Utah especially, that's such a critical stat. Because if we have a short average distance to convert third down like we had against UCLA, in West Virginia, and some at Wyoming, these bigger wins where it's like an average of only 2 or 3 yards, that means Utah's running the ball, they're staying on schedule. And I think Utah's offense, their identity, we have enough info now where it's emerged where if Utah can run the ball, they're going to be very consistent, sustain drives and score touchdowns. If they can't run the ball, they're going to have to rely on an explosive play factor that they haven't had truly. They've been like okay in some games, but like against the best defense they played, Texas Tech, they had no answer for when Utah could not run the ball and get into those 3rd and short scenarios. So I think that, third down, average distance to go, that's going to be the X factor in this game for both teams.
Yeah, for sure. Game played at night. Everyone thought it was going to be blackout. Turns out to be a red out. I kind of like that. I think that would look good at night, especially with like we do like kind of red tinted lights as well. Like I think that looks like kind of interesting. Let's move into score predictions. Do you have your score prediction ready?
Let me think about this for a sec. Let me consider. So the total over under right now on FanDuel is 50.5, and Utah's favored by 5.5 in this game. So they're thinking Utah's gonna win what, like 28 to like 23 or something along those lines. Yeah, something similar to that. With my score prediction, I'm gonna go Utah 31. See, I predict this score for like every game. Utah 31, Arizona State 17.
Okay, yeah, 2 touchdown win. I mean, that would be resounding in my opinion.
I think that Arizona State. Yeah. Sorry, to say one thing really quick. I think that Utah has a good amount of tape on Arizona State. They've had And I'm not some guy where it's like, oh, you're hiding something. It's like week 7. Like, I don't really think that's much of a thing, but Arizona State has had to empty the clip, so to speak, in like 3 games already: Mississippi State, Baylor, and TCU. So I feel like Utah has a better understanding of Arizona State potentially than Arizona State has of Utah, in my opinion. And I think that plays in Utah's favor. I think that could be a factor here.
I do think that is an interesting point where, like, especially on, like, Arizona State's had way more big third downs than Utah's had. What do they go to at those points? Like, what are their tendencies? Like, I do think Utah will have a good understanding of that. And honestly, Scalley's the one I trust beyond anybody to, get ready for that. I think this game is going to be a little bit more low scoring. I think that Utah's offense, when they get knocked off track a little bit, like they did versus Tech, I think is going to struggle because we just don't have those talented guys on the outside that can really like open things up and like force like open space up downfield. And so I think we're going to get knocked off track a little bit. I also think they're going to get knocked off track a little bit. Late road game in a tough environment. I mean, ASU knows what that's like. We've played for, 15 years of home and homes against them. So like they're very familiar with that. I think this is going to be a low scoring game. I'm going to go 21. I'm going to go 21-17 for Utah.
Yeah, I love that close, hard-fought game.
Yeah, I really respect ASU, and I think they're very, very good. And I don't think that this, like, even if they lost this game, I don't think it knocks them out because they have 0 conference losses.
100%.
I think a loss does knock Utah out here, though. And I think
Agreed.
that desperation will show up.